Thank you. All right, call the meeting to order. Current time is 1:08 p.m. We'll go ahead and take attendance. Councilor Vargas
Present.
and Councilor Orlikoff.
Present.
And I am Councilor Laurent, and that means we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead and conduct our meeting. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for their flexibility. Had a change of location, which explains why we're here today. We will be meeting in the room across the hall next month, but that'll come on later. All right, first things first, we'll get public comment out of the way. Rules on public comment. We're going to give each speaker approximately 2 minutes apiece, going no more than 20 minutes total. We ask that we maintain decorum and no personal attacks and what have you. If there's any question about it, we can address it directly, but do we have any public comments to share?
Hi, Yanni. I just wanted to speak in favor of the bylaw that's being put forward to pass, that being taking the note-taking out of the chair's hands and giving it to a CCPSA staff member. The background on this bylaw is that the chair has been known to exclude comments from the meeting minutes. The chair has also been known to record the minutes in a way that casts doubt on things that specifically women in the district say, things like claims as opposed to just writing it as is. And so recording the minutes is really crucial to having what happens in this meeting passed up to the CCPSA. It's part and parcel of why this system was established, and it's how the CCPSA does its job when things are getting reported properly. And so that's why I'm speaking in favor of the bylaw that Councilor Vargas is putting forward to put the note-taking in the hands of the CCPSA staff member. So thank you, that's all.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comments? Mr. Burke.
Hi, my name is Adam Burke. It's great to see some new faces here. I run or lead a community volunteer organization called the 14th District Committee on Public Safety, and we're focused on working with all the stakeholders in the community and in government to reduce crime in our community. I just wanted to give quick highlights on the recent data. Robberies, which was our main focus, are down dramatically. 63% down over last year in the last 28 days and 36% in the last year, which is tremendous. But we have to remember it's still up 22% over 3 years ago. So certainly our work isn't done. But frighteningly, thefts are now up 99% over 3 years ago. And shootings in our district are up 57% year over year. So it's great to see the robberies, which was a huge epidemic, go down, but there's still a lot to do. And so our committee agreed at our last meeting to expand our outreach to other organizations in the community, like the Chamber of Commerce, other elected officials, other community groups. And so I'd like to invite anybody who would like to participate in that, who wants to be on our mailing list, or has ideas about who we should be working with, to swing over and we can have a chat after. I'll stick around. And second, regarding bylaw changes, I just want to make sure everybody knows that a full transcript and video of every meeting is always available online, and that the counselors always vote on the minutes. And so it seems to me unnecessarily bureaucratic to duplicate effort on taking notes. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Mr. Shillings.
On this topic of bylaws, and this, I guess what I suppose this is more of a question, would turning that over to the staff member relieve one of your burdens in the meeting, as far as running the meeting? I mean, does it make would it make your job easier as the chair if you did not have to take the notes?
All right, so I'm going to break protocol because usually I don't address public comments, but since you're asking a direct question, it's our responsibility to provide minutes. And it personally, I don't think that the staff sends an envoy here to assist us, and I think that it's not it's basically like a concession that's offered our way, and it's not a guarantee.
Okay.
So that's where I have an issue
Yeah.
with that particular thing. So,
Okay.
and
Not a
I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'll let you complete
I
that.
just wondering if it, maybe if it would just maybe from a logistical standpoint, it'd be any easier. And that was my own question.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Mr.
I
Minez.
was going to say that the audio portion of the Facebook videos can be run through a transcription application and still got to take. Just got to go back and make sure the names are correct.
That's a good idea.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Mr. Bielka.
So hi, my name's Lee Balecki. I'm a district counselor in the 22nd district on the south side. Came up here, I wanted to listen to Ms. Richardson's presentation. But on the subject of changing bylaws and allowing staff to record the minutes of a meeting, we're elected officials. We have a responsibility to the community to fulfill our roles as district counselors. One of those roles of the chair is to document and write down the bylaw, write down the minutes of the meeting. So putting more of a burden on staff, which, as far as somebody had pointed out earlier, and I've watched the 14th district. I grew up not far from here, so I watched the videos. I mean, you have a video accounting of every meeting and everything that happens in the meeting. So putting more of a burden on staff is just taking away another responsibility of a district counselor who was elected to perform that duty. So I think that, I don't understand why a bylaw change would be necessary to take away something that individual was elected to perform that duty. So, and again, I think Anna will say they've got a lot to do down there at the office already, rather than having to worry about the minutes from a district council that should be performing their duties responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Schmidt.
This is going to be a question. As I understand, those video recordings are only available on Facebook. Okay, so we've got a barrier to entry there right now. If they were posted actually onto the CCPSA government website, that would be different. I, for one, do not have a Facebook account. You've got a barrier to entry if you're only posting. I know, what an anomaly, right? I don't have a Facebook account. I'm not on Instagram. Nonetheless, doesn't matter, I can't view them, I've tried. So I think I'm not, an exception, and I think if those recordings were posted to a government website, that is something very different than being posted to a Facebook page. So I'm just going to put that out. That is definitely clearly a barrier to entry. I think any lawyer would agree with me on that point.
Thank you for your comments.
Probably have to check with City IT to make sure that's server permitted.
Sure.
Ms. Heyman.
Hi, I'm Sally Heyman. I've got a couple of points. One on the question of minutes. I would like to see the draft minutes put out in advance of the meeting. I would like to see Commissioner Laurent put it in an email to everybody in advance of the meeting when he announces where it will be. I'm so glad to see that this month. We haven't seen that in months and months and months. So that was a welcome piece to get in my emails this past month. But I really do think that it would be helpful. I mean, you guys get copies of them, you discuss them here, but I have no clue what you're talking about. And I would like to see in advance, so I could go to one of the counselors and say, hey, change this, do this, add that. I think that would be really important. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of past business, is Sergeant Nowacki in the 14th District, who was accused of being a oath keeper, had an investigation by the BIA, which was basically a whitewash. They didn't really do anything on him, asked him a few questions. He said, I don't know. And he was cleared. I put a complaint into COPA asking that this be investigated. COPA called me a month or so later and said, oh, we don't do this kind of work. And told me they were sending it back to the BIA, Bureau of Internal Affairs, run by the police. I got a letter in the mail at the very end of August, dated the end of August, didn't get it until September after our last meeting. And surprise, surprise, DIA is not going to investigate this any further. So I wanted to let people know. And also to let people know that I am really, really concerned still that we have an oath keeper in the 14th district.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comments? Mr. Tucker?
Justin Tucker, been in the 14th district for a quarter of my life. I thought the email question was answered last month. I want to second comments made about the bylaws. I mean, you guys spend a good chunk of these meetings, you guys approving the bylaws and amending them and stuff like that, so it seems pretty peculiar. And usually professional organizations, when they do bylaws changes, they don't just like, oh, here's a bylaws change, let's vote on it now. They usually take time. I'm still waiting on David Orlikoff to answer simple questions posed to him. I don't know if you guys saw Jim Daly's article in the Southside Weekly, but it exposed some pretty abusive behavior by the counselor. He's been hostile towards aldermanic staff, CCPSA staff and leadership constituents. So I'd appreciate answers to simple questions. I'd appreciate some simple transparency. Is the 14th Police District Council interrelated with the United Neighbors of the 35th Ward? Are they interrelated with First Ward United? If so, when was that decision made? I'd like an answer, please. How does the council decide which groups to associate with outside of the meetings? Please, I'd like some transparency in that question getting answered. When can we expect answers to these questions? When can we expect transparency? When can we expect an apology for your abusive behavior, which was in Jim Daly's article that you can read about? These are simple questions. If we want transparency from the police, we deserve transparency from the council as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comments that anyone would like to share? Your name, please?
My name is Nicholas Hernandez. I was not aware that there's some oath keeper, someone that had association with the oath keepers in the police department. I hope that y'all can take the appropriate steps to take care of that. I'm not sure what's going on with these bylaws, but if the staff has capacity to take notes, yeah, go for it. I would hope that y'all can share the responsibility. Also, not sure what's going on with one of the sergeants. I guess I was told that they had retired or whatnot. I walked into the police station one time. Somebody in a white shirt cursed out a bunch of migrants that were waiting on the bus. This was during the time when the migrants were staying at the police station. I have no trust with the police, as they keep giving me more and more examples as to not to trust them. Like, I want to trust the police, but for the police to start yelling and cursing at people that have no power, like, how can I expect to get any help from the police department when they're yelling at people that are the meekest among us, that don't have that much rights? Also, I hope that the new care team system that's going to take place in May is brought here to Humboldt Park, because we have a lot of folks in Humboldt Park that have mental health concerns. I would rather have the care team show up to assist them. A lot of my neighbors fear calling the police when their family members are going through PTSD, mental health breakdowns. They fear that the police are going to shoot first, ask questions later, just from what they see. So I really hope that police are doing what they can to be amongst the community, protect and serve, i.e. protect the people that are at the park from the cold weather that's coming, serve them by providing them food. They have a large budget. So that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Now, do we have any other comments? All right. That being said, we'll go ahead and close out public comment, and that will conclude the interactive portion of our meeting. We'll go on to the approval of minutes. Got a copy here. These were submitted to each of you previously via email through the proper channels. So you've had time to look at them, and I want to take another look. I found some typos myself earlier today.
Name F.A.
F.A., okay.
Was this Saeed recited. I actually don't know the spelling, so how would we get that?
I think, I want to say I looked him up, and I believe that's accurate, so.
Appreciate it.
I did exercise some diligence there.
For the counselor updates, I do think a little more detail is worth mentioning in regards to ex-Deputy Chief Navales from Area 5.
Where are we here?
Orlikoff member updates.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you wanted to add,
Too often. I mean, I think that's really underselling it. There's Area 5 Deputy Chief Navales and another officer, or Area 5, I guess ex-Deputy Chief.
he's Chief of Constitutional Policing now, I believe. Am I accurate in saying that?
That he was.
That he currently is, his current position. I know he's
I
with
believe they
Constitutional
took him down to
Police.
captain.
Navales?
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking of somebody completely different. My mistake. Okay.
So,
Navaez.
Orlikoff
Navaez. I'm thinking of Angel Navales. That's where the.
Do I have the wrong
No,
name?
I have it. I had it wrong.
Let's be clear for a second. Sorry.
So you want to make certain that it's Deputy Chief
I think the fact that it was
Navaez,
Deputy Chief
I believe is what it is.
in Area 5 is important.
All right.
Oh, I'm saying the wrong. Okay, so I'm saying the
Navaez.
wrong name. Oh, Nieves.
Nieves, that's it.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you for being clear with me. Okay. So, but mention that Area 5 ex-Deputy Chief Nieves
Okay.
and another officer.
All right. So
Thank you.
that's perfectly fine by me.
That makes me feel like I should make sure that I haven't made that mistake somewhere else.
Right. That's like I said. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible and due diligence here.
No, great catch. Okay. Thank you.
While he's looking through that, do you have any?
No suggestions.
Okay.
We have the presentation here. That's great.
Right. Got the link to the presentation from Mr. Mayers.
I don't know. I mean, you were quoting me paraphrasing her. I didn't. It was a conversation. I didn't get it in writing, but I don't know. I guess that's fine. Does it read that that's a quote from the commander? It was a paraphrase message. I don't know.
I'll take out the quotes if that makes you feel better. I mean, if that clarifies it a little bit easier.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we'll remove the quotes.
Yeah, I did my best, but I didn't have the statement in writing.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Make certain that we're
Okay.
characterizing everything appropriately.
Vote to officially silence silence of the. I guess I'd like to provide a bit of it. So sign on to the amicus brief opposing private
Arbitration.
police arbitration.
Okay. Any-
Private police arbitration. That's what they're currently fighting in the court. It's just the private nature of it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any suggestions on your end? You're okay with the amendments as well? All right. Can I get a motion to pass the minutes as amended?
A motion to pass as amended?
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Looks like it passes by unanimous consent. All right. And let's see, where are we now? Okay, district council member updates. Which of you would like to go first?
Oh, sure.
Councilor Orlikoff.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited, for our speaker, who will be having, just after these updates are finished, to advise of a couple of the materials that we have and opportunities available to you. We have sheets with the QR code and the survey. The CCPSA, the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, are conducting community feedback on a couple of topics currently, including the CPD budget, which they provide a review of. Of course, the City Council decides the whole budget, but the CCPSA does a review of CPD's budget. So if you would like to, it's just a one-question survey. What are your inputs or recommendations for the CPD budget? Please grab one of those. We also have the 14th District Council Policing Priorities Survey up on the podium, on the dais, along with some of my cards. We have some of the annual calendars for showing the meetings for November and December. And we do not have printouts for two other things, but on the CCPSA website and my last email, there are links to two other surveys, one on the current CPD general order, that the department policy that the commission is reviewing. That department policy, general order 01-11, relates directly to the community commission and district councils. It sets procedures in place for CPD at different levels to work with the commission and the district councils. So it is of special concern to us, and it is partly based on recommendations that we made last year. So a number of things that we're concerned with are still in flux within that, including this governs things like meetings with the commander, both attendance of representatives from the district at these meetings, as well as meetings for the district councilors to meet with the commander. In the current version, it says that the commander will facilitate meetings with the leadership team. My concern is that that could just be a cap sergeant, and I think there's a real difference between meeting with a cap sergeant and the commander. So yeah, the general order is available on the website, or ask me if you need to help finding where to provide feedback for that. I think lastly, I think there's one more, or maybe that's it. Oh, they also have a survey on the qualities and priorities for police board members. The commission directly interviews and appoints, I believe, the police board. So they're basically asking for help in their rubric for grading folks, essentially, or setting the goals and priorities. So that, again, can be found on the website. So that's four things. One is the CPD budget, which is up there, the policing survey, which is up there, and then not up there is the police board survey and the general order survey. 1 second, I'll try to wrap up. That's pretty much it. And then just briefly on the our guest speaker, I don't have a lot of copies of this, but the OIG releases a number of reports. I have one copy. I could give another one out. This is a copy of one of their reports related to the internal affairs investigations into Oath Keepers and Proud Book. So their work has related directly to a number of the things that we've discussed here. They typically don't respond to, they don't conduct investigations of individual police officer complaints, but they do reports of systemic issues with public safety and policing. And so I'm very excited for that. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Orlikoff. Councilor Vargas?
I have a couple updates. One being that this is a two-body governing system. We are hyper-local, and then we have a 7-person council that works on policies. And finally, the nomination team pushed for months to have the seventh person be in the body that was appointed by the mayor. His name is Angel. And finally, the Police and Fire Committee accepted his appointment, and he's in the 7-person body council now. So that's exciting news. And then the other piece of news is that Kelly Presley is a lawyer from the West Side. She is also part of the 7-person council. And she is dropping out, so we're going to go through nominations again to find a lawyer from the West Side to fill that spot. And that should take about 3 months once it starts. The other update I had was 2 months ago. I went to a CCPSA meeting in Hyde Park, and it was specifically about gun violence reduction in Chicago. And there is this coalition called Live Free Illinois, pushing for a permanent office dedicated to gun violence prevention. So I definitely agree. They're working with people who are most affected by gun violence. There were CVI organizations giving public comment, and they had professionals on the panel talking about their experience with gun violence prevention. So we are working on the gun violence prevention in Chicago. Considering there is a $1 billion deficit in 2025, there's a workshop happening on Wednesday. It's a virtual workshop with Grassroots Illinois that I can share with anybody who's interested in learning about how that might affect Chicago and how that happened, how we got into this $1 billion deficit, which can affect a lot of things. A lot of resources in Chicago dedicated to people's safety, physical safety. Safety involves hunger. It involves safe streets, lights on the street, on the light poles, working, filled in potholes. All of that is part of our safety, and this $1 billion deficit will have an effect on all of that. So I urge you all to come to join the workshop on Wednesday. Thank you.
Get a location for that?
It's virtual with
Okay,
Grassroots
virtual.
Illinois. Yeah.
Thank you. And I imagine you'll share that link.
I can with anybody who's interested.
Thank you. Does that complete your update?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Vargas. All right, I've got a few updates myself. First and foremost, I want to point everyone's attention to on the bulletin board back here. 14th District is having a community conversation that outlines the strategic plan for 2025. I know this is going to sound like inside baseball, especially for those that know me well. The first meeting is going to be on Tuesday, October 15th. And the reason why I point out the inside baseball is that it's at the VFW post, of which I'm the senior vice commander of. That starts at 6 p.m. There is a second one if that's unavailable for you, but that's November 2, I believe? 4th. Thank you very much for correcting me. I don't have it right in front of me. But so if you can't make one, you can always attempt to make the other.
Second one, 2056 West Division.
2056 West Division. I believe it's a restaurant, if I'm not mistaken. But there's more information there. You do have to pre-register for it. On that flyer is a QR code, or there's a website that you can go to pre-register to be a part of that conversation.
The website doesn't work.
Oh.
Email Liz Rios at the 14th District.
Thank you, Sally. We have a question.
Yeah, how does that meeting relate to these meetings?
That I don't know. That's the strategic plan, is from what I understand, to where it's a little bit more of how the inner workings. The police department,
Okay.
their inner workings, yes.
Okay, got it.
So I think that, especially if you took the time to come out here, I think it might be of importance to you to get to see the nuts and bolts and how the machinery works on where we're going with all of this. So we
have
last.
another question.
They do this every year, towards in the fall, and the people, mainly from CAPS meetings, come and talk about what they think is most important for the upcoming year. So yeah, I think it is worth attending. I've been going for years.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, Sally, does it cover the whole police department or just the
14th.
CAPS program?
It covers the 14th District Police.
Not just the CAPS program, the strategic plan for the district
Yeah.
for 2025.
Specifically for our district?
For our district,
For the
yes.
14th district,
There's
yes. All right.
other districts are having similar kinds of conversations around this. So this is 14th District specific.
Thank you for that. Okay, last week, a week ago today, we had a quarterly meeting of which they brought up plenty of high-level proposals, things that of note, to which we get to vote on in about a month or so. And I want to know what everyone's voice is on how we should vote on it. Me especially. I'm certain that my colleagues are also interested in hearing the feedback. I can talk more in depth offline here. Some of them, and this is not a complete list, promote public safety, support the wrongfully attained, include district counselors and community mediation build-out, implement mandatory annual psych evaluations for CPD, prioritize improving clearance rates, and build out alternative responses along with district councils. So plenty of items there. I've got some of the more in-depth details with me. So if you're interested in hearing more of those, either reach out to me after this meeting, or by phone or by email. And if you need those contact information, I'm more than happy to share it with you. Another item that was brought up last month that I took some time and I got to spend a good hour with Commander Linus and some of the sergeants up at the 14th District. And I specifically asked about the Art Studio Space .01. If I'm mispronouncing that, let me know. Not the news that I'm certain people want to hear, but this I saw the actual reports here. Majority of the records pertaining to the address, which is how they maintain their record keeping, were calls to service. So there was neighbor complaints or issues in the nearby area that brought them there. And essentially, let's see, it kind of, and I'm not saying that it debunks things, it's just that I don't think that it's clear that would be considered targeted harassment by law enforcement, especially when they're calls to service. That's neighbors complaining about the noise, things like that. So yeah, there's a bevy of information there, and some of the narrative that was shared with me from the CPD. They just, they have to appease everybody, try to keep everyone happy, and it's kind of difficult to do when there's people that go against the grain a little bit. It was pretty much the narrative that I got. They still want to make certain that everyone is above board. As a matter of fact, they offered me some resources that I can extend to the business owner to get more in compliance with things, to kind of minimize or mitigate some of those issues that they see. But and I can share those individually as well. That should be all for my updates. That being said,
I forgot one thing. So
Okay,
I don't know if we're done with it.
yeah, go ahead.
I so saw Ashley Richard actually.
All right. Councilor Vargas.
Thank you for sharing, Chris. I also met with the commander, and she was a little more, she held more reservations towards me on sharing information on the Space 01 situation, which was interesting just to hear our kind of like relationship we have with the commander. And I also want to share that we should be critical on what the police are sharing with us. I know they have on the report that they're not targeting this space, but considering the situation with BIA, not investigating further with the Oath Keepers in place, because they said, no, we're not racist, just further proves that we should be more critical on what they tell us and push for more transparency and morality. Thank you.
Thank you. And you had something else, Councilor Arlico?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know that this would fit anywhere else. In response to one of the public comments about the posting of the videos. Yeah, I have no idea if or when we could get Assets Information Technology Services or whatever to host the video on there. I do know that the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability uses a YouTube account. Is that seen as more accessible with a lower barrier to entry than Facebook videos?
Yes, because you don't need a YouTube account to view videos on YouTube.
Okay.
So yes, that's
So I will try to take that issue.
I'm sorry, it's ungated content on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I just also suggest, if that doesn't work out, you can also get an account on Vimeo, which stores videos and makes them publicly available, and there's no account necessary to do that.
All right. Thank you. All right, where did my agenda go? All right, so next up, we will go to discussions. With going into our discussions portion, I'd like to go ahead and have Councilor Orlikoff introduce the guest that he invited here.
Thank you. Yes, very excited. I think a lot of us are, but so we're blessed today with Ms. Tabara Richardson, the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety within Chicago's Office of the Inspector General. So within the Office of the Inspector General, her role most specifically relates to the work that we do. So, a very good speaker to have. She has presented numerous times on their reports at the commission hearings when they have new information for them, and, relating to the commission's role in public safety and oversight. As I mentioned before, we've talked a lot in these meetings about their reports, including related to the call response. They found that police are not logging a response to 49% of the 911 calls that they're receiving, and also, related to the investigation of the Oath Keepers, which was in response to a policy created by the Community Commission last year. So, the hope, obviously, with that policy was that we would get rid of some people. And anyway, whenever OIG releases a report, it's definitely of interest to me, and I think to a lot of people. So we're very glad to have Mr. Bob Richardson here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. So I'm going to stand over here so that I can press this button, and then hopefully everybody can
Would
see.
you like help with using the thing, or are you good?
I think I'll be okay. Thank you. So for those of you like myself who are visual learners, there's going to be the information that I'm going to speak about here, but otherwise, because I've lived with the word, talked about the word so much, I'm basically going to just have a conversation with you all. If I am talking too fast, let me know to slow down, or if I am moving too slowly, you let me know, we got it, you can go faster. I like to have conversations, and that's what I plan to do. So again, my name is Tabara Richardson. I serve as the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety. The Inspector General is Deborah Witzberg. So the mission of the Office of Inspector General is to promote economy, effectiveness, efficiency, and integrity in city government. Essentially, the OIG is an oversight entity. It's nonpartisan, independent, there to promote the mission of oversight. And then we do that in a number of ways. The OIG does conduct investigations. Specific to my section, we conduct audit-based reviews. Additionally, we have dashboards where we provide data, information that we have access to just for transparency's sake. So those are the three different main buckets, the main ways that we conduct our work.
Sorry, you said audit-based reviews, data dashboards, and what was the other one?
Investigations. Into, we'll go over the jurisdiction, but really anything almost that touches the city. So OIG is not independent just because I said it's independent, but the OIG is independent in a number of ways. First, the Inspector General herself was nominated by the mayor, approved by City Council. Additionally, the Inspector General can only be removed for cause. So because someone doesn't like the work that we're doing, or that they are investigated, that is not cause to dismiss the Inspector General. So that's another protection. Additionally, there's a staggered term, and it is she has a 4-year term, total of 2 years, 2 terms, 8 years. But so the mayor can't be elected 1 year and say oh, she does her job too well, she has to go, right? It's staggered. So the mayor would have to be in office for at least a couple of years before the IG's term is up. Additionally, we can't be starved out, where individuals may say fine, we can't just get rid of you, and so we won't give you money to hire people and to do your work. So the OIG's budget is a minimum of 0.14% of the city's budget, which for fiscal year 2023 amounted to approximately $13 million, majority of which is for the office workers to get the work done. This year we have about 120 OIG employees.
I have a question about the current OIG.
Yes.
How long has she been into her tenure, and which mayor was she appointed by?
So she was appointed by Mayor Lori Lightfoot in 2022. And so then this term will end in 2026. There's a 2-year term, totaling 8 years, so that will be 2030. And also, the OIG does work at its own discretion, so no one can tell the office what to investigate or what not to investigate. So all those things lend to the independence of the Office of Inspector General.
Can you self-initiate?
Yes. As far as OIG's jurisdiction, that's all city employees, lobbyists, anybody with a contract with the city, subcontract, elected officials, anyone with certifications with the city. What do we have access to? Basically everything, all premises, documents, individuals have to cooperate, participate with interviews, and additionally, the OIG has subpoena power. So, with regard to the structure of the Office of Inspector General, at the top we have the Inspector General. Again, that's Deborah Witzberg. We have our Technology and Operations section. Within that, we have the Center for Information Technology and Analytics, which we refer to as CETA. So all of those fun dashboards, if you go to igchicago.org, go to information portal, and we have them divided by city, public safety, like all those things, like the great folks in our CETA section, they work on those. We have our legal section, which our compliance unit sits within, also intake. If you look at any of our quarterly reports, which we should be publishing our next one on October 15th, it will give you like all the intakes that we've received, divided into various categories. Audit and program review, they conduct the audits for all of the other city departments outside of the ones covered by the public safety section. So the public safety section specifically provides oversight as it relates to the police and the police accountability agencies. In the audit and program review, they review all of the other departments. And then our investigation section conducts investigations. Most of the investigations into CPD members are going to be conducted by either COPA or BIA, the Bureau of Internal Affairs within CPD. But say, for example, if there is a conflict of interest or if there are allegations that involve more than CPD members and other city employees, then our office will conduct those investigations. And I am the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, and we're going to go into more details as it relates to the public safety section.
Question?
Yes.
What makes up a conflict of interest?
And so we look at those on a case-by-case basis. And so it could come to our attention in a number of ways. It could be through our intake process if someone's initial allegation is such that it specifies where the accused are CPD members and or other city employees. Say, I'm just going to make up a department, like Department of Sanitation or another city department, then like that audit. So that is where it's multiple entities. But say, for example, if COPA or BIA has an investigation and from their perspective, they see a conflict, then it could come to our attention in those ways. Or going back to the intake example, if say, for example, it's an intake where there's an allegation into, say, the deputy of the Bureau of Internal Affairs, then like obviously there's a conflict. Or say if there's an allegation where the accused is the superintendent, right? Because folks are reporting to the superintendent, like there's a conflict there. Mm-hmm. So those are ones that there would be obvious conflicts.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions as it pertains to the OIG?
And that would be pertaining to active members, correct?
Right. So in order, right, for us to have jurisdiction, the individual has to be, right, a city employee. And if somebody retires or, you know, for other reasons they are no longer an active CPD member, well, yeah, then we would have jurisdiction over that individual.
Thanks for that clarification.
In such a case, could the matter be referred to the Attorney General's office?
Sure, and so that would be outside of our jurisdiction, but also we have ILESB, which is I don't even want to try to begin, but Illinois law enforcement.
Standards training board.
Yes, thank you. And so I'm not covering that today, but now there's also the certification process. So there are other things outside of our jurisdiction, but for today's purposes, I'm just going over what is within our jurisdiction.
We had a presentation on our Let's Be last month.
Okay. See, you all are on top of it. So any other questions as far as the OIG before I dive into the public safety section? All right, so we'll keep going. Okay. Okay, so if we go back to 2014, end of 2014, we have the killing of Laquan McDonald. Fast forward to, I believe it was November 2015, we have when the video was released, and then Mayor Rahm Emanuel formed the Police Accountability Task Force. We also had the DOJ pattern and practice investigation. And from those things were recommendations as far as having dedicated resources within the Office of Inspector General for police accountability and oversight. The Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, my position, was approved in October of 2016 with funding to start in 2017. April 2017, you had your first Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety. And specifically within the public safety section, we have 2 units. And so I'll go over them now. So one unit, which we can go into more detail specifically as far as what you all would like to discuss. The investigative analysis unit reviews closed disciplinary investigations. So COPA or BIA actually conducts the investigation. Once those investigations are closed, then they come to the investigative analysis unit. They review, we screen those investigations, we talk about them, and if we find any deficiencies that we believe materially affect the outcome, we send a recommendation to reopen to the respective entity, COPA or BIA, describing what we have observed during our review of their investigation, recommending that they reopen the investigation. So that is the investigative analysis unit. The performance analysis unit, which you all may be more familiar with those products. So say, for example, it was mentioned earlier, the 911 response time report, or in May we published the CPD's preparedness for mass gatherings, or some other reports, CPD's enforcement of the rule against making false statements, whether written or oral, Rule 14, or CPD's enforcement of the duty to report, Rules 2122. So the performance analysis unit performs those audit-based reviews, and those are most of our products are coming out of that unit, where we look at data, we conduct interviews, we ask questions, and then we give our findings and our recommendations. Whether it is a recommendation to reopen coming out of the investigative analysis unit, or whether there are recommendations coming from the performance analysis unit, per ordinance, the entity that we give the recommendations to, they have to respond to us. They don't necessarily have to accept our recommendations, but they do have to respond. And what we do is we publish our reports or our recommendations to reopen, and we publish exactly what they send us in response to our recommendations. And all of those things are made available on our websites, igchicago.org. Click on publications, and then you can put whatever you want in the search box, or you can just scroll through the products that are there, what we've published.
Question.
Yes.
In the CCPSA ordinance, when there's a complaint against the CCPSA itself or an elected official, in many cases those have to go to the OIG.
Right.
What part of the OIG would handle that intake?
So just to give you all a little more insight into how we actually function, everything is filtered through our intake section, which falls under our legal section. So the intake unit is in the legal section. And then each week they send out where they think those intakes should go. And so say, for example, the intakes pertaining to CPD or police accountability agencies, they typically come to the public safety section. So that would be myself and my management team. And then we look at each, like literally every single one of those. And then from that list, ones that we think need to be discussed within the entire office every single week. Everybody, like from different sections. It's open to the entire office, but for sure, all of management from every single section, we get together and we discuss where things will ultimately land.
And then who would do the actual investigation?
So that would be our investigation section. The public safety section, we have people who we assign.
Oh, so it wouldn't be within public safety
No.
to go to?
Yeah, so the actual investigations are going to be conducted by our investigations section, but that also includes a public safety member. So the folks who are every week screening and reviewing COPA and BIA investigations, they are assigned to all investigations pertaining to public safety matters. So there's going to be folks from the investigations team, there's going to be a member from the public safety team, there's going to be a member from the legal team. So we use a multidisciplinary approach when we look at everything that we do. From the products that we put out, we have folks from other teams, like on our project teams, and then we have folks from our team on the investigations as well.
So something maybe I missed it. How were things submitted to the office for consideration?
Okay, so I was going to get to that
Oh,
last,
okay, I'm
but it's
sorry.
never too early.
I'm sorry.
So,
Wait.
number of ways. So one is 833 Talk to IG. I haven't looked at the actual numbers on the phone, but where the TAL and K are, the number 2, and then where the I and G are. Or talk to IG, talk the number 2 IG at igchicago.org. Or you can send us a letter. Our current address is 740 North Sedgwick. Or you can submit an intake through the website igchicago.org. So all of those various ways, phones, email, through the website, by letter, however, since you best.
Walk-ins?
No, yeah, so that is the only thing we don't have. And that's a part of like safety precautions. Everybody isn't happy with the work that we do, so for safety.
If someone were to send you something, would they expect to get like a case number or any follow-up, or it's different?
So there's going to be an automatic response, but because the investigations are covered under a section of the ordinance which keeps them confidential, there's only so much information that is shared, but there will be an automatic response. You will know that it was received, but then you may receive limited information after that. And I will actually backtrack on the in-person. Because we do so much community engagement, we're at farmers markets, we were at 8 districts, National Night Out last year. Like, we are always all around the city. So when we are at locations, they make sure that they have an iPad or sometimes paper so that people can fill out, provide intakes that way too, any comments or suggestions. Yeah. So that is a way where people can provide information in person. Or I'm here today too.
So the investigative analysis unit investigates, reinvestigates cases where the decision might not be.
Yeah. So we're
like obviously from hearing the comments here today, the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys investigation was investigated by BIA. They found these officers they have no wrongdoing or continued affiliation with these groups. Now, is that investigation being reviewed by the OIG to see if that investigation was done properly, or has the investigative analysis unit already reviewed that investigation and come up with a disposition relating to the outcome of that initial investigation?
Okay, so I can dive way ahead and go there. So I will say we don't reinvestigate. We're not Monday morning quarterbacking. What we're doing is we're looking at the investigation that was conducted. And when we look at the investigation that was conducted, we say were there other investigative steps, or were there other pieces of evidence, things of that nature, such that they would have, if those things were done, it would have possibly changed the outcome. So we're looking for deficiencies in the investigation itself to say whether it would have materially affected the outcome.
Right.
But we are not re-investigating.
Right. No, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
What I'm asking is, has the OIG found that investigation to be deficient?
So with regard to the Proud Boys, and so all of that is laid out in a number of places. So these investigations actually go back to like the early 2020s, right? And specifically because I was informed that you all were interested specifically in the Oath Keepers investigation. I know that date was 2022. Proud Boys may have been 2020. And so those investigations were conducted by BIA. The Investigative Analysis Unit did review those investigations, found deficiencies. We sent recommendations to reopen with regard to the Proud Boys. They accepted that recommendation to reopen. Fast forward, ultimately that was resolved through mediation where, we understand that that individual, they agreed to 120 days. So that was the Proud Boys.
It was Officer Baker, but I'm talking about the officers that have been since accused, and specifically the one that's working in the 14th district. I believe he's on the medical now. I think his cancer's back. But the issue is the OIG was already initially invited to participate in the investigation, I believe, right?
So first, I will get to the Oath Keepers next. That is a different conversation as far as like whether there's going to be a joint investigation or not, which hasn't traditionally happened, right? It's BIA, COPA, or it's the OIG. We'll go through COPA's jurisdiction. If it's not in COPA's jurisdiction or it's criminal, then it goes to BIA. And then we talked about some of the circumstances under which the OIG would conduct an investigation. And so there are like other things that happen that would have to happen before there was a joint investigation. So simplistically, we can say like, oh, somebody was invited, but like right there are certain procedures and things that have to happen. We don't do things just by whim or half.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
Right. And so with that being said, BIA conducted the investigation. BIA is the investigative entity within CPD that's charged with conducting those investigations. That is what they do, that's what they did, and then our investigative analysis unit, what they do is review the post-disciplinary investigations, that's what they did. We sent a recommendation to reopen, giving them 3 recommendations where we found deficiencies that we believe materially affected the outcome. They declined our recommendation to reopen, and that is what you can see on the website at IG.
That's the question.
So we reviewed
that
it.
answers the question that I had.
Yeah, we reviewed it. We found deficiencies. We told them about it. They declined our recommendation to reopen. And then the last one that they're still looking at, which while it's under investigation, that is what it is. But that is where we sent a recommendation to reopen as it relates to the 3%.
So as it relates to the investigation.
Hold on now. Real
And
quick.
then what I'm going to do is, because I think this is a very important conversation, so that we can put these questions and conversations into context of the work, I'm going to finish going
Okay.
Right. I'm going to ask that we all respect Miss Richardson's time. She put a lot of effort into this. I'd like to hear the entire presentation before we get sidetracked. I'm certain she'll stick around and answer any questions at the end of it.
I will, and then it'll be in context of like our structure as well. Okay, so jurisdiction of the public safety section, the Chicago Police Department, police accountability entities. So we have the Bureau of Internal Affairs within CPD, Civilian Officer Police Accountability, COPA, the Police Review Board, and the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, CCPSA, which the district council members are, connected there. They were created after the creation of the public safety section. So the public safety section does not speak specifically to CCPSA. However, we sit within the Office of Inspector General, which has jurisdiction over all of the city to include CCPSA. But specifically, if you go to the municipal code 2-80-170, you will see where CCPSA's ordinance speaks to the public safety section conducting an evaluation of CCPSA 3 years after the permanent commission has been in place. So that is the public safety jurisdiction. And so if we want to look at the light blue box on the right, you'll see the types of investigations that COPA conducts specify in their ordinance what their jurisdiction is. So most of your excessive use of force, sexual misconduct, bias-based policing, as it relates to bias-based verbal abuse. That falls under COPA's jurisdiction, and we've laid out the list here. Anything else is going to go to BIA to include criminal matters conducted by BIA. That's supposed to be a filter in the middle. What that means is that the intakes, to include intakes received by the Office of Inspector General, we give COPA notifications of those intakes. It says by the end of business the following day. So they are like the filter to where everything is going. Does it fall in COPA's jurisdiction? If not, like, is it going to BIA? That's most of the CPD members' cases, or is there a reason that it should go to OIG? And then last, one of my favorite aspects of the office's work of our website are going to be the dashboards, igchicago.org. Up top, it'll say information portal. You can click the arrow down. I think public safety is like the second one down. But we have like city data, so you can look at things pertaining to city employees. We're going to go through the public safety dashboards, but you can look at topics pertaining to city finances, community engagement for our office specifically. So what I'm going to do is go through the public safety dashboards, and then we will jump right back to where we left off before. So we have a dashboard related to 911 calls for services. You can break those down by districts, by wards. Most recently, we've updated the dashboard where you can look by beats. And you can look at, again, like types of calls, to include behavioral health related calls, or like the hundreds of categories that, is actually used by OEMC when they receive calls. You can look at the arrest data pertaining to demographics, trends in arrest. You can look by districts again, look by wards, look differences in demographics. All of those things are on the arrest dashboards. So our CPD members, again, you can look at demographics, you can look at time with CPD, age, like there are so many different ways. And then you can, again, look based on districts, based on wards. You can filter that information however you would like to. You can put in first name, last name, STAR number as far as notifications and complaints pertaining to CPD members. If it's before 2019, when the system where they store the information changed, then there's just like a button top right or sort of like middle of the screen, and you can see everything before 2019 as well.
Does that apply to other city employees related to public safety, like elected officials?
This is just CPD members. Yes. Yes.
So that will list all the complaints against a particular officer?
Correct. Yeah, and if it's before 2019, there's a button that's like in the middle on the right. It's a link, and it'll take you so you can look at the records before then.
Okay, that's very
But only close to things.
Right. Yeah, so if something is still under investigation, like there is no result to be able to display it.
Question?
So thank you for that.
Question?
Yes.
Would that include officers who are retired? Where they keep their
Yes.
record there?
Mhm.
Okay.
It just won't have a STAR number because, they're
Retired.
inactive.
Okay.
Yeah. So investigatory stop reports, that includes traffic stops and civilians on foot. But whenever officers stop someone, they're supposed to complete an investigatory stop report or an ISR. You can look at that information again and look based off of beats, wards, however you want to filter that information. And then same thing with the tactical response reports, wherever there are physical interactions, use of force, the CPD member will complete a TRR and that information is also there. So it's just like, I don't know, for me it's fun because it's just information, like no conclusions, no implications, it's information, and information I think is great just for information's sake, or to the extent you have a particular interest, you can play with the dashboards to like discover whatever you decide to discover. If you have suggestions for us as far as I'd like to see this, or maybe this should be different, or can you show us this, like then you can also, through the same means we talked about before, send us an intake with your suggestions for how we might like either update dashboards, create a new dashboard, whatever information folks are interested in seeing, because we have access to CPD information and the city's information. Yeah. Was it about the dashboard?
I was going to ask about the investigatory stop dashboard. Does it, so you show the number of stops. Does it show whether charges were arrests were made or not, or what the nature of it was?
It doesn't, because that is going to take us into the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, which is not under our jurisdiction. So let's see, we can go back quickly to that dashboard.
CPD has a database that actually shows what's what.
Okay. Well, then you could cross-reference it with.
I was with COBRA, so I had access to it, but now I don't know if it's public.
Yeah, so we have it overview, pat downs, ones that consist of searches. Then you can look by district, wards, and then compare it to census demographics. But so since you have said that exists on CPD's website, then you can cross-reference.
But it's a monster.
Okay.
It was, the last time I saw it was 500,000 lines in the Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
No, good luck.
I had a question about the dashboards.
Yes.
The 911 calls, something we've been trying to get access to in this district are 911 calls, but I see y'all have 911 calls. How does y'all's data relate to the police's data?
Yeah, so.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yes. And a part of it is what we have actually is 911 dispatch calls. So not necessarily every time somebody picked up the phone and called 911, but data based off of whenever someone was dispatched in response to those calls. So I'm not sure. Does that answer your question?
All right. Just a quick reminder, we're going to save our questions from here on out to the end, so Ms. Richardson can get through her information.
It, so that's fine. Let me. What this is? We went through. Oh, okay. So we also have disciplinary flow charts, and there are 20 of them, and they vary based off of an officer's rank and based off of the recommended discipline. But as some may know, there's current litigation going on, such that CPD, not CPD members, but specifically CPD officers, folks who are part of the FOP, may have the option. Previously, separation through like 365 was only seen by the police board. Now they may have the option to go to the police board or arbitration. And so for that reason, there may be changes or there to the dashboard, but for now, as things traditionally stood, you can look at the disciplinary flow charts and then go through the grievance process as it may happen, depending on officers or the CPD members' rank and the recommended discipline. So that is all there, but will ultimately change. And last, again, any allegations of misconduct or just recommendations or feedback, all of those things can be sent to the OIG. And how we might be able to help like today, right, coming to have conversations about work pertaining to public safety or anything related to this city, providing subject matter expertise. I mean, especially if we publish a report on a particular topic, we welcome an opportunity to talk about that as well. Or I've even done a presentation where I've like gone through and played with the dashboard, like interacting with the audience. So like all of those things are available, although it's my understanding that CCPSA is working on something that will be more centralized, so that instead of having like one by one as far as the districts, since they're over 20, where like folks will be able to come together on a larger scale, so that people can learn more about the dashboards. And then we also do listening sessions, which should be coming up again, but that's where we literally just go all over the city to have people come and just give us feedback. And even in our last listening tours, for example, we're getting ready, the public safety section, to launch a project related to CPD's response to, say, crime as it relates to CTA. That came directly from a listening session. We're purposefully trying to hear about like topics and issues that Chicagoans want to have us look into and actually do those things. So, which is what we try to do anyway, but we're being intentional as far as like in the moment trying to gather that information. And these are ways like my contact information, phone number, the email, our current address. We are on social media. Follow us. You can also go on the website igchicago.org if you want to sign up for our newsletter. We put out our newsletter each month. Whenever we publish something, you will be the first to get those publications. So we will welcome connecting with you in that way as well. Okay, with that being said, I don't know what my time is, so if you want me to sit down, I can. Otherwise, we can continue.
We'd love to ask you some questions, but first, a round of applause for Steve. Thank you so much. So I know that we probably want to have a little more discussion around the specific BIA stuff, but before that, are there any questions related to the presentation or any other topics to knock out?
Good job.
Was anyone holding a question during the presentation? Well, we'll get to that in 1 sec.
1 sec.
Do any of the counselors have any questions for the guest speaker?
Not at this time, no. But well done. Thank you for the wealth of information. I think a lot of people engaged in it. Thank you.
I was talking about the work, so anytime.
There was one thing that I saw, so that maybe I said something wrong. It said that OIG does some investigations of CPD members. Could you speak to when you do or don't investigate CPD members?
Yeah, so those main circumstances are going to fall into two buckets. One, if there's a conflict of interest. So the examples, based on the prior question that I gave, was, say, for example, if it's the head of BIA or it's the head of CPD, superintendent. So those are like natural situations where we can see where there is a conflict of interest. So those situations, or those in which the allegations pertain to not only CPD members but another city employee or city department, because OIG has jurisdiction over the entire city, not just CPD members. That would also be a natural situation where we would conduct an investigation into the CPD member. Otherwise, the main two, and I can go back to where we talk about the jurisdictions, but that's going to be
I think that's good.
BIA.
And so I know Lee has another question. Could you maybe just briefly summarize, again, you answered it before, but so OIG investigated BIA's investigation, or did an analysis and found 3 material deficiencies, and then BIA declined to reopen. And so that brings us to the point of discussing anything else. Okay, so there was a question, Wayne?
That was the question I had. So that was the initial question. That would have been the investigative analysis, correct?
Correct.
Made those recommendations, they found 3 deficiencies. Is there anywhere in the OIG dashboard, or will it be in the quarterly report is there any way we can find out what those, I'm asking, that we would find those 3 deficiencies, what they were, and was there a written response to those, and where can we find that? Would that be in the dashboard?
Yep. So it's going to be on the website, not the dashboards. The dashboards are just the data, but then we publish everything. So if you go to igchicago.org and you click on publications, you can just put in a search, Oath Keepers, and it will probably be the first thing that comes up, or it'll be soon thereafter. And what you will see there is you're going to see our recommendation to reopen, the letter that we sent to BIA where we're pointing out these 3 deficiencies. And I'll just, for folks who haven't had a chance to look at them yet, one was pertaining to where one of the accused CPD members came across a bunch of emails. The investigators specifically said, I think I have more questions about this, except never followed up to ask those questions. Another one in which we actually listen to the recordings and we could hear the FOP representative whispering answers.
So in other words, they were represented by counsel.
Or at least the union.
Well, yeah, because
Who is an attorney.
when an officer is investigated, they have ability to have a lawyer present. You were right.
I'm also a lawyer.
Yeah.
But the lawyer can't testify.
He can't testify, but he can
Be a lawyer.
be a lawyer.
So that was one of our recommendations for them to re-interview those two CPD members in the last one, which where they're saying that membership in an organization in and of itself is not a rule violation, and so we're saying do some analysis there, because as you did back in the 1960s when you had members with KKK, one of the rule violations that they sustained on was Rule 2, bringing discredit upon the party. So those were the three deficiencies. We sent the letter, they sent their response, and all of that is on the website, and it's in the quarterly, which was published around June 15th.
Okay.
Okay.
So the summaries are there, the actual letters are on the website.
Okay,
So
Ms.
what
Ringwald,
happens now?
Wait a second. Sorry, 1 second.
we got a question here, and then I know we kind of need to wrap it up just a little bit, so we'll do Councilor
Can I do
Vargas.
these three?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to recommend. Councilor Vargas.
I'm gonna try to be brief, but last year, with what my friend here was saying about the migrant situation, there was a mutual aid group in the 14th district, and the only investigation that was sustained was the one that was investigated by COPA. All the other investigations were sent to BIA and not sustained. One of them involved a police officer showing up to a mutual aid volunteer's home with very big guns, according to, that's what happened. So COPA didn't investigate that, even though I sat down with the new neighbors. We made the COPA report. A few days later, they received a menacing phone call from the 14th district. So then I sat down with the CCPSA lawyer. We drafted a letter to go to OIG because we thought it would be a conflict of interest for BIA to investigate that phone call. Because in the case that it was a BIA member making the phone call and they went about the investigation wrong. But then we come to find out that BIA, within BIA jurisdiction, BIA has the authority to investigate BIA. And I just wonder, how is that not a conflict of interest? And also, would you be supportive of an ordinance change? Because I sat down with the CCPSA executive director, with the COPA executive director, and also with Deborah, and they all said the same thing, that there was no communication between these three accountability groups, because this one case was lost. It was bouncing around for a while. So yeah, my question would be like, why is BIA investigating BIA not a conflict of interest? And also, would you support an ordinance change? And what would that look like to be more collaborative?
Yeah, so in this short time, I don't have a response to the latter question as far as an ordinance change. But like you said, how Deborah engaged in the conversation before the Inspector General, like we always welcome opportunities to discuss these topics. And so in the moment, right, we want to make thoughtful decisions, considerations, all of those things. So I would say, whereas Deborah, the Inspector General, says, we go anywhere we're invited, even some places that we're not. And so we welcome setting up time for further discussion as to the latter question. And then remind me, I had a response to your first question, but we quickly repeat.
Yeah, how is BIA BIA investigating BIA not a conflict of interest?
So they have a confidential section within BIA that is walled off, that conducts those investigations to the extent, say for example, typically how you might see a conflict of interest, and I'll just speak like, say for our section, for example, if somebody comes up and like that's my best friend or somebody I know we have whatever relationship, and especially like I know like either it could be an actual conflict or perceived, right, as a conflict maybe, then I would say like, okay, I'm going to be walled off from this issue. And we legit have folks who, you know, we've all had past careers. I am in my 14th year, right, so you've come across various people, maybe you made friends or whomever, and we literally have people when a certain intake comes up, like just even the preliminary allegation, like that person will step out of the room, right? So there are certain circumstances in which like there's a specific conflict of interest and those individuals will recuse themselves. But in general, I would say, one question I've gotten before is, right, oh, you oversee CPD, you oversee the folks who oversee CPD, who oversees you, right? That's a question we get sometimes. And we actually have within the Office of Inspector General, but we have an individual who is there if there is any like allegation against anybody who is a member of the OIG or something of that nature, like where they are walled off, and they would, just like we're saying with BIA, conduct those investigations. So I guess maybe an unsatisfactory answer, but the short answer for how things currently stand is like they have a confidential unit within BIA. They're walled off and they're charged with conducting those potential investigations. But to the extent if either entity feels, right, like I said, where somebody may say, oh, I gotta recuse myself, or they may feel like we're too close, we can't, and they would present it to us. And then, like, again, on a case-by-case basis, we would make a decision because we conduct our work at our own discretion, but as to whether we would do those investigations. But with regard to any possible ordinance change or thoughts, at least conversations around that, feel free to contact me.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so we can
in
have
the
a
works.
thoughtful
Yeah.
conversation.
Okay, Mr. Jimenez?
I'm going to redirect my words. They're called ethical walls. Conflicts are not always avoidable. You know, that's life.
That's human
But,
nature.
But an ethical wall can be set up to isolate the unit that's doing the investigation. That's the way it has been done.
You had a question for us? Okay. Mr. Burke, I think was the last one then.
Oh, so my question was, since the OIG declined to accept your recommendations, what happens?
BIA.
I'm sorry, BIA. Thank you. So what happens now? Is that the end of the matter?
So, at the same time that we published our, as to the specific matters, the answer is yes. But we published at the same time that we published the recommendation to reopen their response. We published an advisory on CPD members with associations with hate and extremist groups. There we went through the things that have happened. Say, for example, with these specific investigations, our recommendations, what they've done. We went through what CPD itself has done in the past, right? They knew how to apply Rule 2 back in the 60s. And then we went through what some other cities are doing, right, as it pertains to this matter, because it's not going away. And ultimately what we did is we gave a recommendation to the mayor saying, because, right, it's more than just CPD. We're right now talking about what happens at the end, per se, right, as far as eliminating CPD members with these associations. But before we get to that point, what about identifying members with these associations? What about preventing them from being on the force to begin with? And because at every stage, right, it could be an issue. That's why we sent our recommendation to the mayor, because it's not just pertaining to CPD. We have OPSA, which functions as CPD's sort of like administrative or HR function. We have DHR. So there are multiple city departments where this, who play a role. In addition, each of you here, right, you're talking about in your district, there is something that we believe affects us as residents of the city. And so our recommendation was to take, as the mayor said before, a whole of government approach, bring everybody to the table. Right? When I started off, I said we ended up with the public safety section because of the police accountability task force put into place by then Mayor Rahm Emanuel, right? So we're saying we've seen it done before. Like, bring everybody to the table. Like, let's figure out what we're going to do about this issue that is not going to go away, right? That has to be addressed. The mayor, well, the deputy mayor for public safety, did send a response. So we published our advisory. We published the response. And they said the right words. But there is nothing there as far as now what are we going to actually do? Like, what are the actionable things? What can we say? Like, we did this, check. Like, we put something into action so we can see the result. And so that was just our recommendation. However, you know, it's decided to address it. Like, our point is address it not just in words, but in action. So that was something that we published the advisory at the same time. We published the recommendation to reopen it.
Thank you. So just one person you haven't mentioned is Commander Lenas. So I just wanted to clarify because it's been asked multiple times in this group. Does Commander Lenas have any discretion at all on accepting an officer that's assigned to this district or any role in the review of that individual?
So you're asking a staffing question?
Right.
That's within CPD's purview, how they decide.
But Commander Lenas herself, does she have any discretion there?
I don't know the exact answer.
Yeah.
CPD
Okay.
within itself decides where they want to put people and staff people.
I can answer that.
Well,
That's okay.
I'm a retired police sergeant, so everybody is afforded the opportunity to bid to different districts. So like, we're talking about, his name's come up several times, Sergeant Nowacki. He was actually in our district at one point, and then he bid to come to the 14th district. So as far as her discretion of whether or not she can accept that bid, it's all based on union contract seniority. The bids come out monthly. If you choose to move from one district to another, you have to bid for this spot based on seniority is how you will be chosen to go to that district. Now he can always be detailed out. That happens a lot, and I'm not going to take any more of her time. But one quick question.
No.
One quick statement. You mentioned a couple times. Maybe you want to elaborate for the people here. I know what it means, but you mentioned Rule 2 violation. So why don't you explain to them what the rules and regulations of
Actually,
the department are?
Actually,
So
if I
it's-
may.
And it's in the report, but generally speaking,
Yeah.
like actions, whether they're on or off duty, that would create discredit. of
Just
one of the
verifying
department.
part. But I mean, there are rules and regulations.
Thank you.
And I'll hang around.
All right. So yes, I'm going to ask for the sake of time keeping here. I'm going to thank you, Miss Richardson, for her presentation and being patient with us with our questions. She will be making herself available for a brief time after the meeting. So if we could delay any remaining questions thereafter. Councilor Orlikoff, you had something?
Thank you so much. I'm not sure how much you can get into this now, but just summarize. So you talked about the mayor's task force and their or the recommendation and their response. I know that the Inspector General, Deborah Witzberg, also made comments about the new general or BIA's interpretation of the new general order as a result of the investigation, saying that by this standard, somebody who was an ex-Klan member could join CPD as long as they don't tell an investigator that they currently hold racist opinions. So my last question is, do you think that there's a need for the CCPSA to reevaluate or change the general order that they did, or as an alternative, do we need to change BIA's jurisdiction or something else?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact answer. So Rule 2 has been around for a long time. So traditionally, you're referring to a general order or a GO8.
The bias association order.
Right. And traditionally, that has been for like CPD members, say for example with associations or membership in street gangs. And so CCPSA made amendments to that. And if you look, a lot of places it adds like and biases, right, to try to capture like CPD members with those types of associations. And so like that is within CCPSA's powers, right, to make those suggested changes for general orders. And so like our perspective, which we've said like in our recommendation to reopen as it relates to the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, is that Rule 2 has been like on the books for a long time, even before these changes. And in fact, again, back to the 60s, Rule 2 was applied by CPD, DIA, Sustain, and so. Yeah, like right. CCPSA should do what it feels it should do, that is within its powers. But then ultimately it's just left, it boils down to like there are rules that are there that have been there, and sure we can make more rules, but like you gotta actually apply, do some analysis, and show your work for what you're actually
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson.
Very much.
All right, so let's get through the rest of our discussions. We are on the clock now. Police accountability, any items?
Yeah, one thing based on the public comments relating to Sergeant Nowacki and some of the discussion we had, and based on our last presenter last month, if anyone so wishes, they may file a police decertification complaint with the Illinois Law Enforcement Trainings and Standards Boards for Officer Nowicki. If you would like to do that, that's an option available. That was all I was going to say about that today.
If I remember correctly, doesn't it have to be sustained by BIA first in order to get to? Okay. Good.
Anybody can submit a complaint. So and if you need help finding that, you, speak to me after. I'll send you the link or the form.
All right, restorative justice, anything?
One thing, there was a comment about wanting the CARE program to expand in Humboldt Park. I will. I made a note to try to follow up with the Department of Public Health to see if that is part of their planning. So I will try to get an answer for you.
And so to piggyback on that, and if you don't mind me jumping in real quick, one of our fellow counselors during our quarterly meeting last week, we addressed the CARES program as well, and so it's one of the items that I have to discuss further with anyone that's interested in offering their voice to that, and I can expand a little bit more individually for the sake of time here. But anyone that wants to hear more of what the district councils as a citywide unit is looking to do as far as the enhancement of the CARES Act, I'll share that with you. Council Vargas.
No update.
All right, and evidence-based approaches to community safety.
Sorry, there's some flyers for the restorative justice training. These are free, held at the Build Center in Austin. They don't have the dates on them. I can provide the dates to anyone. I was trying to look that up, but every quarter they have a daytime and an evening free restorative justice training for 1 week, and it's coming back up.
Okay, thank you. Evidence-based approaches to community safety?
I don't think so.
Sorry. All right, the only thing that I have in regards to public safety, or community safety, I should say, ironically, one of our guests here, Councilor Bilecki from the 22nd District, shared this email this morning. Basically, retired Captain John Roberts, involved in a heroin epidemic relief organization, or HERO as an acronym. It's about conduct Narcan training and everything like that. So this is not basically to demonize anybody that uses heroin. It's basically how to save their life in a worst case scenario. I think it looks like high value information that I'd like to get more of, but I can share that with you as it comes out, or I can point you in the right direction of anybody.
FYI, usually libraries have a station where they will get free Narcan out.
Right, but to expand on that, yeah, how to properly administer it. That's the important aspect of it.
Yeah, I talked to Captain Roberts last night. He works at the Blackhawks tonight. He's an NHL official, but he is really invested in this program, basically because he lost a family, his son, to drug overdose. So they have a mobile unit that goes around. It's a mock-up of bedrooms for hidden in plain sight. So where young people might be hiding heroin, obviously with the fentanyl problem that we're dealing with. Okay. And we've had John in our meeting. We're going to have him again, and he's very passionate. Very passionate. And like I said, they're giving out this Narcan. They're going. He did 70 events over the summertime. So his time is your time. He's really a great guy.
Thank you for that input, Mr. Bilecki. Okay, moving forward, looks like we have one agenda item about amending the district council bylaws.
Yeah, I can just read. Okay, so the purpose of this proposed amendment is to enter into the bylaws that CCPSA staff will be assigned the role of recording minutes of meetings. Amendment text, the original language, meeting roles. There are 3 roles which must be performed for each meeting. The meeting chair, the taker of minutes, and timekeeper. Only a member of the district council may serve as meeting chair, but staff and volunteers may assist with minutes and timekeeping. A single person may perform multiple roles. So that's the original language. The amended language would be meeting roles. To ensure that our meetings are fully documented, this proposed amendment mandates that all comments, regardless of the chair's personal views, be included in the minutes unless deemed inappropriate by the council majority or the whole. This will help prevent selective omissions and foster accountability within our council and the community. And then 3 roles must be performed for each meeting. Only a member of the district council may serve as meeting chair, but staff and volunteers may assist with minutes and timekeeping. A single person may perform multiple roles. A member of the CCPSA staff who attends a 14th district council meeting will take the minutes. If a CCPSA staff member is absent, the district council shall vote to designate one of its members to take minutes for the meeting, or a volunteer. So that's the proposed amendment, and I'd like to vote on that.
Okay, any discussion on this?
I do have one thought. On the last or the second to last sentence, a member of the CCPSA staff who attends the 14th District Council meeting will take the minutes. It seems that it might be possible to take minutes from our video recording potentially, or potentially an audio recording as well. So I think we might be able to say a staff member who attends our council meeting or views a suitable recording.
Or views a suitable recording, yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, and my input here is I want to strike the word personal views, because regardless of the chair's views, I'll say that. But it's kind of contradictory because part of the role of the chair is to be an impartial person, which I am.
Okay.
Well, and this kind of goes back into the question, the brief discussion we had about this earlier. It's our responsibility as a council to produce these minutes, and it doesn't necessarily designate that the chair has to be the one that does the minutes. I have gathered and put together a version of the minutes, which I submit to via email for any edits or inputs or any kind of variations of such. So I think that this is kind of reinventing a wheel that's not broken, in my view.
I would just like to, okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'd like to flag that you sending the minutes is fairly new. You stopped for a while after you stopped sending out the monthly check-ins with the community. So that's fairly new because the community has called it out multiple times that you're omitting their comments, that you're leaving out the comments.
Okay.
And this is where this comes from.
Okay, well, to that, I will say that the public comments are verbatim. If you're talking about comments that are shared during the discussion, the discussion items per Robert's Rules of Order is supposed to be summarized, not directly delineated from every word spoken. So, and also that kind of also violates the portion of the fact that discussion is essentially discussion amongst the 3 of us as a council. Of course, we appreciate any input from members of the public, but we are here to discuss these items amongst us, and any input that's put in there should not be included as far as the discussion topics.
I don't know if I, sorry, could you repeat the last part?
So basically, once personal, public comments are complete, it becomes a business meeting between on the council itself. So anything that's taken care of here is basically discussed among us. We are, as far as the Robert's Rules and discussion items, we summarize it, not put them down verbatim. So any comments that are shared in there are not put in there. It's just we can sit there and glean. Okay, well, this is what the nature of the summary was, so to speak. So of course you're not going to see verbatim comments and things like that in the discussion aspect, whereas the public comments are delivered verbatim.
That's fair, but even public comments have been left out from your minute taking.
Okay, and
Which minutes have been left out?
hold on.
3 times. And the one I remember is probably like a few months ago when there was critique on Chris's how he is chairing and asking him to leave his position. Those comments were left out. And this is kind of where I flagged that, and I decided to work with the CCPS lawyer to create this new amendment.
I don't know. I think it's in here, but I could be mistaken. Now, so is that to say? Okay, here's the other aspect of it. Technically, it's not the chair's role to produce the minutes. As a matter of fact, in accordance with Robert's Rules, the last person that should be providing minutes is the chair. So that kind of leans back to, okay, well, why has it been the chair? Because I, as the chair, I am concerned with making certain that we're compliant with everything. So it's not from saying no one else can do this. It's just that no one else is doing it, is more of the discussion. So also I will say that as it's pointed out in here, that we can have a volunteer if anyone wants to volunteer. And as the previous amendments to our bylaws, we have to have majority approval of any kind of volunteer interaction, which I'm not against. So I think that this is unnecessary, I should say, given the fact that the resources that we have available to us. If we can't accommodate it on our own, we can always ask a volunteer to step up and help us out.
I appreciate your point of view, and I'd still like to move forward with the vote.
Okay.
Could I say one
Certainly.
quick thing? I definitely do hear you, Chris, in terms of that you've it's work that you have done on behalf of the council to provide the options for the minutes. I recognize that. My one hope in minutes would be that they contain more of the substance. I feel that oftentimes they reference a topic without giving any indication of the content of what's decided, or so that's my main hope in terms of the minutes. I also think that as much as it is feasible, I think that it would be a boon to all of us, including yourself, to have a version provided by staff that would take something off of our plate, as long as that's a possibility.
Well, I'm not in complete disagreement here. I mean, I don't think I think having anybody volunteer to do it. I think that we could open the volunteer opportunity to the staff member if they choose to do such. I just don't think it should be mandated, because, as was previously mentioned, staff is pretty tasked with a lot of duties, and the last thing I want to do is lean on them even harder for, whether it be Damon or Anna or anybody else who steps up to help us out. I just don't want to make it a level of mandate to where they have to do it.
I checked in, and this is something that they can take on.
That is great to hear. I do know that Anna does a whole heck of a lot, and so yeah, I would share being wary of if this was something that could only fall on their shoulders. I do think with recordings it might be possible for different people to take on the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I also am anxiously awaiting. I was told by Damon actually that we could have a conversation, or he would have an update by this meeting about having a community outreach coordinator assigned to us, which we do. So we're actually a little short-staffed, but I think that has been an ongoing issue that has affected our work that still needs to be resolved. But yeah, sorry, that's it.
All right, so That, with the discussion portion taken care of, do we have a motion?
Motion for vote.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Motion to, okay, so motion on the table is for the amendment number 001 regarding the purpose of the proposed amendment to enter into the bylaws that CCPA staff will be assigned the role of recording minutes of meetings with the
Question.
staff.
Does this motion include, or is that not possible, the addition of or views a suitable recording?
We can include that.
Okay, now we need to see where it goes into inclusion. Member of CCPA staff
Who attends a 14th District Council meeting
Or uses-
uses a suitable recording. That's perfect. Uses is a better term. Uses a suitable recording.
and you see the edits that we made here, where we
Okay.
or use the suitable recording. All right. So restate your motion, please.
Motion to vote on the proposed amendment.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion for
All
that.
right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. With that being said, I think that should conclude our business here. Next meeting. You guys wanted to wait around for a little bit. I say about 30 days. We'll be at the room across the hall, but we'll let you get home and take care of that sort of thing. So it's going to be
November 2nd.
November 2 here at the Humboldt Park Library. We should be in the big room then. That being said, 1 p.m. is the start time. Do we have a motion to close, to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Time now is 2:54. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Who's back here in person to talk?
So the first one is
Sure, no, it's not.
It's Saturday.